Hello and welcome to this week's Photography Pubcast. Don't know what number we're on. 28, is it? 28?
28.
28, yeah, 28. Yeah. Right, excellent. Well, this is number 28. We're one short again this week for a small amount of time because James is not actually here right now, but we're hoping that he's going to turn up at some point.
It's because it was his round.
Yeah, well, no, actually, he was supposed to be doing a monologue. Do you remember at the beginning?
He was.
Poetry.
Yeah.
Poetry corner.
Yeah.
Well, we still need to push him to do it when he turns up.
Yeah. James Burns Morrison.
Oh, no, he's had his chance now.
If anyone else wants to have a crack at it, you know. I think I know there was a young lady from Morton, but that's the only one I know. Anyway. What we've been up to this week? Can I start? I'll start this week because I've done a couple of things this week. So we didn't agree that beforehand that I started or anything, did we? No. So it was really convincing until I let the cat out of the bag. I've actually been out to a couple of places this week. I've been going to a lot of the wildlife, trying to get to a few of the wildlife trust areas, seeing as I'm a bit hamstrung as for travelling distances, and I've got to say, there's some amazing places around near me that I never even knew existed. And I think looking at things like English Heritage and the Wildlife Trust and the Woodland Trust and all of these, they're fantastic resources for finding these places. And I've been to a couple in Cambridge. One, well, actually, Beechwoods was the week before, which was amazing. I've been to a place called Rammermere Heath and the Kingswood, which was just unbelievably, just the amount of ancient old oak trees was brilliant. And then I went to somewhere called Haley Wood yesterday and got absolutely soaked. And I was looking for fungi and I got absolutely soaked. But if I hadn't looked, what I'm trying to say, if I hadn't looked on the Wildlife Trust or some page like that, I never even knew these places would have existed, and they're amazing.
It is amazing. I got that because I donate, because the Wildlife Trust, I think, which is the one that you are talking about, the one that covers our area, covers Holme Fen. So I donate to that Wildlife Trust, and as a subscriber you get a pack of goodies, and part of that pack is a guidebook effectively, which is a guide of all of their locations, all of the woods, and it gives you directions, it gives you the things to look out for. It's a bit like a photography guidebook really, because it does cover so many different woodlands and nature reserves, and maps how to get there. It's really, really good. So I agree, Gary, it's a great resource.
And there are so many as well. There are just so many of them that you don't even know. You would just sort of two of the ones I went to. The one I went to called Beechwoods in Cambridge. You would. I walked into it. I wasn't expecting anything. I just thought, I've got a few hours to kill because I was dropping my father off at the hospital for a couple of hours. I'll just wander into it. I'll have a look, and I was staggered by how beautiful it was. I actually had to go back to the car, get my tripod, so I could actually take some proper shots. It was really gorgeous. Anyway, anyone else? Mally, you've got some news, haven't you? What have you been up to this week, mate?
Yeah, it's been up and down, as usual, busy working and what have you. And editing's been tough this week, but I was spurred on by a group of over 30 people. I did my first real camera club talk for the St Helens Camera Club, and it was great fun, and what a fantastic bunch. A lot of faces as well. I knew a few faces, which was good, so that was really, really good fun. And I've got another 2 or 3 lined up now, so I'm going to butcher this, David. Clinelli.
That's the one.
Yeah, Clinelli. I've got it right, yeah. So,
that'll do.
See you all soon, cockers. But yeah, it's great fun, and it was good for have some feedback as well, and understand, talking to people who are really into photography and have been shooting for many a year. So it gave me a massive boost of confidence. So
what did you do? A presentation, Mally? Or
yeah,
just a talk?
Well, it was only supposed to be like 20 images, and it ended up being 35 images and 2.5 hours. It started at about 8 o'clock, and yeah, I finished just after 10 on Zoom.
How many were left at that point?
All of them. No. I know. Every single person was left, and I got a round of applause as well. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
They were
That's
great.
The thing with these online ones, though. You see, people can just pull the plug and my internet dropped out.
Yeah.
Or you could go, I'm still here. Honestly, I'm still here.
Oh.
I'm just popping off to watch EastEnders.
Is he gone?
Oh no, he's
No,
doing it.
no.
Oh,
That's what I'm saying. That's what you could do.
that's what you can do. Yeah.
Yeah. Shut yourself down and say, yeah, I know I'm still here. But yeah, I am listening. Honest.
It was great fun, and I can't wait to do more and more and more of it, because what's better than talking about what you love and your own stuff, but also getting to know people as well. You know, there's quite a lot of people there that come away thinking, yeah, super.
You clearly don't suffer from like imposter syndrome or anything like that, do you?
Oh yeah, massively.
You see, because I did a talk. Dave, you were there, weren't you? I did a talk over at Prestatin. Barry Johnson is a member of Prestatin, and he said, "Oh, you know, I booked you in to do a talk," and I was like, "Right, really? Okay." So I went over and did a talk, and I just felt like, all the way through it, I felt like these guys are just looking at me, thinking, "What a wanker." You know,
I think
what
that
fraud
lasted.
This guy is.
That lasted for about. I had that for about 10 minutes, where it was really surreal. Where I was thinking, they're all sat there now, going, "Why are we even watching this guy?" But then something took over where I ignored the fact that in my head I was thinking I'm shit. I just started thinking, this is my photography I'm really proud of, and not because I think it's good or better than anyone, but just because of the moment and being out. So I talked a lot about the places, and I talked a lot about like what made me take that picture in the atmosphere, whether it was bad weather and just get out. And I was trying to be inspirational rather than just talking about me. I was trying to say, well, this image was created in this kind of condition, and this is what you can do if you use this kind of lens. And then I'd memorised all the f-stops and ISOs and everything, so I was giving the details of the image, and that helped me nerves, because then it took it away from me and this imposter thing where I was sat there thinking, they're all going, what are we doing here? Why are we listening to this guy? But at the end, he wanted to watch my vlogs, and it was mad, because I had like 30 people watching Home Fen and me getting blown off the side of a mountain and everyone laughing, and I was like, wow, that was great interaction and a real feeling of that what I do is actually worthwhile for inspiration, and that, you know.
Well, I think that's, I don't know about you guys, but I know that's why you do it, Mally, and that's why I do it. Is if you can inspire one person watches and thinks, oh, I'm going to pick up my camera today and go out.
I did tell them all bugger off, like from Crank. They were all like, oh, we'll go there. I said, you know, what do you mean? I'm saying, you know, it's good, but don't mean you have to go there. That's man.
Well, that's a bit like Jamie. I mean, Jamie's just pretty much like killed Hong Fen now for himself, because I'm a regular visitor to Hong Fen, and I know as soon as you guys are allowed to travel, you're going to go back there as well. So yeah, the more vlogs.
But when you're at Home Fen, he can't see you, can he? Jamie walks in, and there's this mysterious-looking camouflage lump. He's got no idea it's you.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I did that once, didn't I? I walked
You did,
one of the paths, and I knew roughly where you'd be, and I saw this camouflage lump in the middle of the clearing, and I gave a wave, and they gave a little bit like, whether it's your camera or your tripod, you poked out your hole and waved at me.
No, that was my hand. I did wave.
Oh,
I think I might have had gloves on. I think that day. I did give you a little wave.
You poked your hand out your hole.
Yeah,
interesting.
Clever trick.
Yeah,
it was like
But
punching
it's
Judy.
interesting because there's been talk this week on a well-known photography forum, a Facebook group, all about that old chestnut of should a photographer say where they got a shot.
Yeah.
And you've got some people saying, oh, it's outrageous, you'll end up with thousands of people there. And others saying, well, no, you know, if somebody wants to know where I took it, why should I be precious about it? And it's not a zero-sum game, is it? I mean, a couple of us here have been fishermen. If you find a really good fishing spot, you don't tell people, because if they catch the fish, you won't. Whereas photography, as I said, it's not a zero-sum game. But it's amazing that the extent to which people get really aerated about whether you should or shouldn't share a photography location.
Didn't they? Yes.
And
yes.
It raises its head every so often it just pops back up, and there's
Doesn't
a
it?
big heated debate about it.
Yeah. Did you notice I didn't join in?
Yeah, I did, because I've got an opinion on it.
Well, it's not that I have or I haven't got an opinion on it. It's my opinion.
Oh, I know you have.
And at the end of the day, I think, well, can I just say, there was no ferns harmed in the making of home, or bracken, or wildflowers. And even if you watch closely, Gary points out, careful where you're walking there. I'd just like to.
Yeah, we should say we should all say actually that it may look like there's a couple of videos that have come out, yours and I think mine does it a bit, and there's a couple that come out that make it look like we're actually in amongst the ferns, but we're not. There were paths. There were pathways. I know you didn't. I certainly didn't step on any ferns while I was going through to where I was. But I would say that we absolutely don't condone it. Not one of us. Stick to the paths and don't stamp on the wildlife.
Or if you are going to investigate, it's like we did. It's small, short steps without stepping off too far from the path, just to get a little bit of an angle. That was all we did. But it is a very important issue. When it turns into hundreds of photographers who go into these places, and then to give locations away is a personal thing for me. I had a talk with Simon Booth. I hope he doesn't me mentioning his name, but Simon is a very protective of the environment, and rightly so, as we all are, very protective. But we did discuss at length about there's places like the Lake District where everyone knows these places, so it's only when you go to certain key places in the Lake District that everyone knows. So you mention them a lot. They're not the SSSI sites, is that correct? But also on one of my videos that's probably going to come out next year, we went to a private woodland and luckily enough allowed to go in it, and I won't be mentioning that place mainly for conservation because it's quite wild, untamed. So for me, it's not a question of do you give away or not. If someone wants to know, get in touch and we can talk to you about it and we can speak about the places, because if you're the kind of people we are, you care and respect for the environment, and that's the key point here. It's when you mention it out loud as a braggart, or you're being loud about it as a braggart, then you're going to encourage braggarts, aren't you? There's personalities involved. It's not just about the place, it's about the people as well. Certain people will.
I think for places such as that's private, then by all means you shouldn't really be giving out the location, because you don't want hordes of people going down on it. But I'd imagine that, like, I've been to a couple of places this week, don't mind saying where they are. One was Rammermere Heath, one was Hayleywood. Prior to that I went to Beechwoods. I'd imagine that the people running that want visitors there. They want the visitors there.
Yes,
and
but
so the right
types. That's what I'm saying. The right types.
Yeah. But I don't think there's an issue with sharing it. I think that
not
when
at
it becomes an issue for people is photographers. It's not that, like for instance, home fen. You say home fen's here, yeah. You would get people who would say no. I'm not telling you where it is. Not because they want to protect the environment, because they don't want you taking the shots that they've got.
Oh yeah, that's it. Do you know? I wasn't even thinking of that.
That's why
you never thought of that.
That's why most people don't share the locations.
I was thinking about the environment and the
Gary.
impact.
But the thing about it is, though, that photographers that just have this immediate stance of, I'm not telling you where I took that shot, kind of, to some degree, perhaps think a bit more of themselves than they should, because, let's be fair, a lot of people would say, well, mate, I don't give a shit where you took that shot, frankly. It's not all that. Secondly, I think that certainly in terms of the likes of us, where we have a modest following on YouTube, it's not as if we go out and say, oh yeah, well, I was stood on the Ridley path just to the left of this rock. All of a sudden 10,000 photographers are going to be stood there. We perhaps think a bit too much of ourselves if we think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I also think that Mally's absolutely right. There are certain locations where you might just give a hint of the sort of place it was and the atmosphere and all that, but you let the photography do the talking and leave it at that. And as I say, with me, I've got location guides on my website, but they're sort of broadly speaking. They're not, here's a grid reference. You need to stand exactly 3 inches to the left of this boulder. It's not that detailed. Plus the fact, an awful lot of the places where I take pictures, Joe Average isn't going to get to anyway, in a million years. So, I think that where people get really aerated on public forums about how dare you ask where I took this picture, you kind of think, mate, you're getting a bit above yourself.
Yeah,
it's just, where was it? It was
I always found as well, kind of going back to my days of fishing, you used to get some really, really secretive fishermen.
Yeah.
But the really good fishermen would tell you everything.
Yes.
They didn't see someone like me as competition.
What
so
feed?
I always found that you could really tell the difference between someone with class, some elite fishermen, and Mr. Average, because the elite guys would tell you everything because it was their skill that caught the fish, not necessarily what swim they was in or what bait they was using. They had real knowledge of how kind of fish.
But also people like that tend to have an enthusiasm for the sport, and they want other people to share that enthusiasm. So why wouldn't you?
Yeah. And that's what I
see
think.
Other people as a
when
threat.
you're talking about sharing, a location, people can get a little bit secretive of it. But if you've personally taken a fantastic shot with great light or a good composition, well then you've got that shot. No one can take that away from you. So if someone else,
I love it when people get in touch and they say, "Oh, I used one of your location guides and I had a cracking day out and I got a great image."
That's lovely.
I love that.
Exactly.
I think that's absolutely brilliant.
Exactly. Someone on Twitter a while back posted a picture from Cobbold Point in Felixstowe, and it was the same shot that I took. And I messaged. It was couple of days, maybe a week after my vlog, and I posted a comment, a reply saying, "Oh, that's a lovely shot. I really like that." And they said, "Your vlog inspired me to go."
Oh, that's lovely.
And there's nothing better than that, is there?
No.
The only thing that I would say about that, so let's, for argument's sake, if like Dave took, I am going to rip one of his photos off actually next time I go back to Snowdonia. But let's say
you can try.
Well, the thing is, I've got to rip it off with your permission because you've actually got to drive me to the location. No, but if I ever took, if I ever saw one of your guys, like your photos or anybody, and I just thought, I really like that, I'd like to have a crack at that, and I did take that photo, I'd always feel obliged to give the original photographer the credit. For instance, like if it was Dave. Dave inspired me. I saw Dave's interpretation of this, or his original. I really want to shoot this myself, and credit to Dave, or Mally, or John Smith. I just think perhaps it's a little bit disingenuous if you take a photo and then claim to be perhaps the originator of that photo.
I mean, if you came up with the idea of sort of drive up and photograph from the side of the road, you might say, "Hey, that's not my idea." Just saying.
I'd also like to say that Home Fen was mentioned from me personally about Jamie, because we wouldn't have gone there if it weren't for you, Jamie. So thank you for bringing that into.
And that, going back to what you're saying about sharing, that's always been my mantra in all of the vlogs I've gone out, because most of my early vlogs, until I've sort of settled on Home Fen, have been exploring the area to places that maybe I've been once before or I've never been before. And if I have a great time and I think it's got some good opportunity, then absolutely I'm going to share it, because if I've had a good time there taking pictures, why shouldn't somebody else? And
you should write a blog post about it.
I should. You're right. Well, actually, now you've said that, there is one if you want to have a look at it.
We've already promoted that last week.
But
it's worth promoting again.
Talking about home fen, I wouldn't care less if somebody rocked up and took the same tree as I've took. Well, it's not my bloody tree, and I've got it in certain conditions, in certain light, and the rest of it. Theirs is going to be completely different, and that's the same with any composition. It's not mine. In fact, there was a tree I took, and going back to what you said there about calling people out. At Home Fen, a fellow vlogger and YouTuber, Ian Worth, visited Home Fen in a previous vlog. He took a shot of a particular tree that I think he printed and talked about, and I took it. That's the one, yeah. And I took that a couple of weeks ago in a vlog that's not been released through technical reasons of my own stupidity. And I actually, in that, I said, look, Ian Worth's come here. I'll put a link to his channel. He's taken this picture before, and I've now taken it. It's a cracking little character. Deserves to be shot. So why not? I think that's just the right thing to do. And if others then want to take it and they get a picture they're happy with, happy days.
I just think it's courtesy. If a particular shot is a honeypot location, a shot that's been shot to death, then you don't need to. But if it's quite unique to a particular photographer, it doesn't hurt just to say, John Smith inspired me, to come and to take this shot. Leave it at that,
Well, David and a young gentleman called Mark Bawdy had put a vlog out at Crank Hill, and I got a message. David said, I want to come there, I want to go there, and it made me chuckle because it is just a local hill. And then Matt Bawdy was like, can you send me the local? He hasn't been yet. He said he was going to go, but I think that's wonderful, isn't it? And wonderful.
I will say, finishing this subject, I will say that it reflects more on the person who doesn't give the shout out to the person who took the original photo than it does anything else. So if you're one of those people who go around stealing other people's photo compositions, if you like, and claim them as your own, that you found them, it says a lot more about you than it does about the person who shared it in the first place. So.
Well, can I just, I know we're finishing it, we're calling it an end there, but there's a place at Turnhouse that that looks like something off Deliverance, and this shack, I'd been there.
You went there with Mikey, didn't you?
I was just, that's exactly, I'll give Mikey a shout on it, and I'll always give everyone, most of the time it's Mikey, let's face it. I'll give him a shout because Mikey's like an encyclopedia of the Lake District, and that place has been photographed by many others and never give him credit. So right now, again, Mikey, another shout, lad.
He's a bit of an unsung hero, isn't he, old Mikey?
Belter.
He really is. I mean, he's photos on Instagram. I love looking at Mikey's photos.
Yeah.
Good
Class.
photographer.
And he's a nice bloke, and I think every time I've met him, he's always been polite, helpful, friendly, and just a lovely guy. So it says a lot about him, really. Yeah. If he can put up with talking to me, then he must be a good bloke.
Well, he can put up with going out with me.
Anyway, moving on, we were going to talk about some comments that we got last week, and I think we'd sort of had a little chat beforehand, and we all agree we're going to pick a couple of comments out each from last week and just talk about them to, just to let you guys know that we do watch, we do listen to what you're saying. So who wants to go first? Jamie, you can go first on this one.
No, you go first because I'm now reading the comments.
I was just going to say, but go on, Darren. Sorry, mate. Go on.
Well, I'll just go with Alan Coles's comment. Great episode.
Yes.
Cheers, Al.
Thanks, Alan.
Cheers. Thanks for that, Al. Yeah.
Hope you get out soon.
He's such a
mate.
chatterbox, isn't he? He don't stop talking. Is that honestly? Ears.
I feel really sorry for him because he posted. I don't know what was it. I don't think it was one of our vlogs. He posted on someone else's quite a long piece, and someone said, "Oh, it takes me ages to read through your stuff." And then he posted a little one, and we're all like, "Come on, Alan, give us some more." Give the guy a break.
Can he?
No.
We can give Alan a bit of
Pubcast 18
stick because he's very much one of us, Alan. So
Absolutely.
Let's just give him as much stick as possible.
One of us. I'd just like to say as well quickly that yes, we did notice the hum, and I think that could have been down to my breakfast.
No, that was me. It was me. Gary has called me out on it off camera. It was my mic. So
do you know
I will
what?
take full responsibility for the hum, and it was the mic and not my backside.
And I will say,
I thought it was me.
No, it was. It's definitely Jamie. I will say in terms of editing it, I edited the first maybe 10, 15 minutes cutting out the silent parts where you were humming, if you like.
Yeah.
But the problem is you could instantly tell when Jamie was coming back in because it went like this, right? Nobody said anything like this. And then he started talking, and then it went and then cut out again. And I thought it was less obvious if you just had the hum all the way through. I thought people would get used to it in the end. You know, you get used to that hum in the room.
I honestly don't know why, because I've not changed that mic since the first podcast, but I have turned the gain down now. Whether that'll make any difference or not, we'll wait and see.
Well, let's hope so. If it's humming this week, it's not my fault.
I just want to say I've spent about 3 hours this week trying to stop this mic humming, and it's power. It's the power from me.
I noticed the humming on your Facebook Live. You went on your group Friday
Yeah.
night. Sunday night. Yeah.
Oh, you're
Really,
with your Facebook Live, Mally.
Yeah.
Can't you do it a bit earlier?
Yeah, for you. I moved it to 8 o'clock
just
last
move-
week, Cocker. I moved
Did
it to
you?
8 and I thought of
I'm in
you.
bed by 8.
Yeah.
I thought Darren said it nice. I thought, I know what I'll do it. Do it at 8 for Darren. And then he didn't
Oh, mate,
fucking
you should
show
let
up.
me know. I watched it. Yeah, do it at 8 o'clock. I'll
7
tell you what-
o'clock. Well, 7's a bit early.
Not
So,
for me,
and
it's not.
I'm
I've got my
tucking
pyjamas
kids
on.
in.
Well, I've got my pyjamas. Oh,
I could,
shit.
Oof! Ninja!
No.
Full-on
Have I
ninja!
pulled the lead out as my audio?
No, you're fine. We
Oh, is
can
it all
hear you.
good? Oh, it's still recording.
You're all
Oh.
alright. The only thing is the cat might have run off.
What is it in you falling over?
No, mate.
Oh dear.
I was going to show my pyjamas, but no, I won't now.
I got a comment while we're talking about comments. Just to quickly change the subject from Darren's malfunctions. We got one from Malik, and he said,
Oh, yes.
"What a wonderful conversation! I applaud your closeness and how real everyone is in this age of bullshit. Thank you for taking us along." Well, I can tell you, it's all very well acted between us. We all hate each other, really, and there's no chemistry whatsoever. So, yeah, we're doing good job, lads. Good job. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Om.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. I really appreciate it.
See, Cole Edwards commented as well, and hope he's feeling
Yes.
better. I think he's all
Feeling
right. I
better.
know Mark McNeil's now out and about
Oh,
as
he look-
well, so
We
It's
did
good
look
to
like
see
he
them
dropped
two
a couple
guys.
of dress sizes. His chippy tits had gone down.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, he did look a bit thinner, didn't he?
Yeah.
Mm.
Take care,
So,
Carl.
so the greatest light one clearly didn't like my claim to fame about Alan Carr pinching my ass. He was calling that out as untrue, but then he claimed that it wasn't him that disliked the video, and that Alan Carr pinching my ass clearly will create dislikes on the video. There you go.
I actually think that was Alan Carr writing that comment.
You think so? Yeah.
What was his name? What was the
The
guy's name?
greatest light one.
That is an anagram of Alan Carr. I think you'll find.
Can I just say, Stuart McGlennon, you're a legend, mate, but I tell you
he's-
what, we're going to get all your comments and I'm going to make a book.
He's got nothing better to do, has he?
An amazing comment. And every week, mate, just fantastic. Thank you very much.
I watched Stuart's printing video again this week. I just find it so interesting, you know, looking at for the viewpoint from a professional photographer who has a gallery. And when he was talking about warm prints sell better than colder prints, and you know how, you know, like panos, people want a pano to fill up their wall, and how necessarily his favourite shots are not always the shots that sell. In fact, his favourite shots very rarely sell, and so I found it fascinating.
Yeah,
Really
well, with
did.
panos, you're cheating, aren't you? You can fill your wall up more.
Don't even go there. Don't even go there with that.
It's interesting, that isn't it? That's an interesting subject. I think we will move on to that in a minute or two about the warming images and what sells. Before we do though, I've got one more comment I just want to talk about, and I want to say really big thank you to Walker Bryan, who posted 0.35 myhotmum.online.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for that one.
What did he do?
You enjoyed that one, did you?
Read that
Yeah.
again.
0.35. So I assume he's, you know.
Why am I
talking
getting
about-
closer? You've got fuck fucking headphones on? Why did I get closer to this if I can't? What difference did that make?
Come in.
Come closer. Come closer.
My hot mum on .online. That was his comment.
Yeah.
So now you know where to go. Yeah.
I just want to mention Nikki Folks's comment saying that she prevented Prince Andrew getting bitten on the arse. I think she should have let him get bitten.
Should have let it happen. Yeah.
Just a thought.
Think of all the kids she could have saved.
But it wouldn't
Allegedly.
necessarily have
Cut
been
that bit.
terminal, would it?
There'd be a lawsuit coming.
Not if you've watched Borat's new thing.
Not yet.
We can say what we like. Okay,
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. Yeah. Allegedly.
Oh, Elaine Smith. She's a ledge.
Oh.
What was the comment?
It was a smiley face. Elaine just posted 3 laughing faces.
Right, okay, I'll get it now.
She's a lovely lady. She
Yeah,
always comments.
Exactly, it's really nice. I was going to say that we got quite a few regular commenters.
Yeah.
And it's always nice to see the same people commenting over and over again.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
thank you for all that.
Especially because we rarely acknowledge it.
Yeah,
No,
well,
do you know,
Kathleen Hickley,
can I just say,
Neil Thacker, Trevor Finnis, there's
Malcolm Fowler.
yes, Malcolm.
Martin
Although he said we
Booth,
started
Yeah,
Kevin
Malcolm said
Marshall.
we started flat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
He
We
did,
always
but,
start
Yeah.
flat.
but he was right.
Yeah, we do.
Well, it's like a beer, isn't it? As the beer flows.
Can't argue it,
We
lad.
should rehearse more. We should rehearse all these spontaneous conversations.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so thank you for commenting, everyone. We really appreciate that, obviously. Now, talking about Stuart McGlennon and his video that Darren watched and we've all watched about his printing process and what sells and what doesn't. That leads on to, I think, an interesting conversation about images and how they're received compared to how you want them to be received, if that makes sense. So like Darren, for instance, you took posted an image, a couple of images, didn't you, last week?
Oh, yes.
And saying
yes,
which ones you prefer, the cooler one or the warmer one.
Yeah.
Yes,
Now,
very
it'd
successful.
be interesting to know which one you preferred.
Well, okay. So to be honest with you, I didn't have a strong preference. I think I'm looking at them now. So basically, if anyone doesn't know, it was a woodland shot that I shot about 2 years ago. I was in one of the pine forests in Norfolk, and it just started snowing, and I was almost looking down a path with the pine trees kind of left and right, and then the snow was coming towards me, and it started to obviously settle on the bracken or on the ferns, but you can quite clearly see the snow as well. So I've kind of freeze framed some of or a lot of the snow falling. Now I automatically edited it as a cool tone, and I was quite pleased with that. And then I saved it, and then I thought, what will happen here if I just really kind of warmed it up? I wanted to be, I think adventurous is probably the wrong word, but I wanted to just play around with my style of processing. So I just turned it a very kind of orangey colour with very kind of dark burnt browns in it as well. And I just really liked it. I just really liked the colours. Now, I'm not too sure that the warmth actually fitted such a naturally cool scene, but it was the colours in that photo that I really liked. So that made me become torn, and I thought, right, well, I'll just throw it out there to Mally's Let's Create group, and 90%, 95% of the people said no, they preferred the cool tones, included my wife Helen, and it does suit the scene a lot better because obviously it was winter, it was cold, but I just like the warm image as well. I think I just like the colours.
Do you know you could have? So when you said it, and I didn't want to post it and sound like I was being obtuse, the colder image had a lot more colours in it.
It did,
It had
yes.
a lot more variety. But all I kept thinking was a blend to take in Photoshop both the images, the warm one and the cool one, and just brush areas in. So you have some warmth brought in the image as well. Do you know what I mean? Just to experiment a bit further.
What you guys kind of don't know is on my kitchen wall, not one of my photos. I bought this on about 10 years ago. This image, and it is just literally two. It's a landscape image, but it is just two colours. It's bright orange and very kind of burnt browns, and I just really like that. And that's when I thought, I'll just try that, and I almost replicated the colours. So it was the kind of either
homage.
So is that saying that you've got this natural leaning towards warm tones in the images that you've taken? Because you take a whole mixture of images, different tones, but I have noticed that there are some that you've taken that are really warm. In terms of, and they're naturally warm, sunrise and sunset shots that you've taken, but whether you've made them warm or whether you just were attracted to that scene at the time because it was really warm and it shouted out to you.
Well, I think. Sorry, Jay. Sorry, mate.
No. What I was going to say, but going back to Stuart's video, I think the point he was making was that those type of images sell more because they're more visually attractive to people, and they feel as though, that's a lovely shot, rather than it's probably not a natural shot, but it's more attractive to the eye to people that want to hang it on the wall.
See, and I was talking to Helen, like my wife, about Stuart's video for her just this morning, and I was saying that the thing is, when you're a photographer, I do think sometimes we can all get quite invested in a particular image, because we've got that connection with it. There's a memory there, especially if it's the weather's particularly good or the weather's particularly bad, so when you look at that particular image, you have got this connection with it. But I suppose the average person, if they was to view that image, they wouldn't have that connection, so they would need to see something that was visually pleasing straight away for it to hold their attention.
Yeah. I'd be interested if you posted that poll that you did on Mally's group on just a normal run-of-the-mill Facebook group and asked the same question to non-photographers.
That's a good
because
point,
the majority of people on Mally's group are photographers, and therefore they'd be thinking of it more, it's a cool shot, so they're traditionally it should be cool tones.
Yeah.
But I would think that most others would say warm.
I think we're all striving for that classic or that contemporary photography shot all the time. We're all striving for the shot that proves that we know how to work a camera, how to compose an image, and how to take it. And most people, they just want the chocolate box shots. The general public, it's like when I went out into the woods and I've Ashridge, I've took lots of different shots of abstract trees and sort of the leaves and the colours, and the one that was the most popular was just a bunch of trees with someone walking down a path in the middle, and that's the chocolate box shot for me. But that's the one that everybody liked. That's the one that everyone was interested in. And I think that I think we can spend so much time as photographers trying to get the artistic, the shot that we feel our peers would accept, would say that's a really good shot. Whereas actually the ones that most people want are sunrises with lots of yellows and oranges and hues and over the land. The real obvious sort of, the ones that you probably look at now and go, that's a bit too obvious.
The thing is, I think you're absolutely right. If you, for example, printed off the Landscape Photography of the Year winner, put it in Stuart's gallery, he wouldn't sell a single copy of it.
Exactly.
Why do you say that?
Because it's not bright and bold, and people I mean, actually, that it is a good shot, but people want. It probably would actually. I think it probably would sell a few, Dave. But I think that the obvious
hyperbole.
Yeah, the obvious sunset, sunrise over the water, sort of like bright, saturated images are the ones that people want to put on their wall because they're warm and they make them feel good.
Isn't it hard to? I find it's hard to separate myself from that. I find it hard to connect to what people want, because I don't want to do that. So when I hear people talking about images like you just have about that, I find it hard to understand. But then you've explained it brilliantly, that it doesn't have that certain boldness or instant likability. And maybe as photographers, I think it's a good thing. We're all a bit blinded to that. Us here, anyway, I think we like to do and shoot what we like and put out what we like. And that uniqueness is lovely, but I find there's a disconnect between people then and what people like. That's a good thing, isn't it? Because that's not commercial though then, is it? It's not commercial.
I would say true photography art isn't commercial. It's not the sort of thing that your everyday person's going to want to hang on the wall. Something artistically or that's good in terms of photography is something that makes you think, evokes an emotion. Whether it doesn't have to be, oh, that's lovely. It could be, oh, that makes me feel awkward, or that makes me feel uncomfortable. But it evokes an emotion, and it doesn't. What is art isn't necessarily what sells. If you look at you go around to John Lewis's or wherever who sell and you look at all the images that they buy up, they're all pretty pictures because people want pretty pictures on their wall.
Yeah. You see, go on, Jay. Sorry, mate.
No, you go, mate. Go.
No, I'm gonna. I think we spoke about this before. At least we touched on this before with the way I process my images, and I am very conservative. I do try and keep all the tones as I saw them on the day. I try not to go too aggressive with the saturation. But you know what? I am going to give it a go. So, say soon. I'm going to start now. Once I go out and the conditions are right, I am going to manipulate my images. I am going to give it a burning sky. And it will actually look very unnatural. But I will do that on purpose.
But do what you feel, Darren. Do what you feel. Like trout tickling. I've said this before. Trout tickling.
Yeah,
you'll get a big fish. You don't have to start grabbing at it like your saturation. But if you tickle, the fish will settle in your hands, and that's the same with your image. Your saturation, just push it a bit, tickle it, and you'll be.
No, but this is what I'm thinking. I'm gonna. It sounds pretty hideous, but I know what I've got in my mind. But I'm gonna push it a lot. I am going to push it quite a lot and make
have
it
some fun.
Very, kind of quite aggressive in places. Or if it's that moody coast, really dark on the skies, almost black skies, and
do it when you've hit your thumb with a hammer.
I do that every day.
And I get it home tonight. That picture's gonna get it.
But that's part of the artistic process. That's part of you moving on as a photographer and an artist, if you like, is experimenting. You start to think, expressing yourself. It's like when I first started doing street photography, I did it in a certain way, and now I do it in a completely different way, and it's all about really, like they always say, you think about it, they always say, don't lose your shadows. Never lose your shadows. In street photography, I want to lose my shadows. I want those dark bits to be really dark and really like what's going on in there, and that's just part of evolving as a photographer. I think
your kitchen.
I think the reason you take a shot should be determined on what you want to do with it. Is it a shot that you just want to take because you want to capture it for your own portfolio? It's a shot that you're proud of and you want to capture that moment in time. Have you got an intention just to share it on social media and get loads of likes? So therefore, you're going to do your saturation and you're going to make it brighter. Is it to be printed? And if it's to be printed, then you're going to think about it. So it really depends on what you want to do with the image. And the majority of the images we will take for ourselves. We will share them on social media, and they generally we're looking for maybe a little bit of peer-to-peer type encouragement and support. But if you stick it on a Facebook group and it's a saturated image, it's going to get loads of likes anyway. And that doesn't really, for me, that I don't care about that. I would much rather get a shot that I'm happy with, that I can keep and say I'm proud of that one. And then if you get peer sort of recognition, and other people say that's a good shot, then that encourages you to go out and do more and improve. So it just depends, doesn't it, on what you want to do with the image, really.
Yeah, when you look at, I put 3 images out today on Twitter, and they were took at local woods, and people might look at them and think I've oversaturated them or I've pushed the colours, but it genuinely is a beautiful time of year. It genuinely looks very colourful, and I've really started getting into this chaos more, where there's just lots and lots going on, and I think that lends to the saturation. Actually, you end up with patches of yellow and green and brown, and because it's chaotic, my thinking is that the images should have these areas of colour segmented, if you like, to give a reason. And we're talking about different colours and saturation and editing, and the initial conversation about when you put the image out. I've started doing something that is a bit different, and I'll do all this marvellous work in Lightroom and all this editing, and then if I'm going to post it online, so that's my print image, that's my image for print, that's set up, then I'll go online and I'll open Snapseed, and I might be somewhere on my phone, and I'll just have a little play and alter, and I'll post that, and it's good fun. It's all fun.
I think that there's an important message, though, that comes out of everything you've all said so far, and that is that we're all at a point in our photography where we've got a relatively high degree of confidence that we know what we're doing, but a self-confidence that we kind of don't care if we don't, in that we're enjoying what we do. We all do our thing, and we all say, yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah. And we're thick-skinned enough to be able to accept the slings and arrows of outrageous critique. And I think it's really difficult for people, and I see this a lot. I get an awful lot of people get hold of me and ask for advice, and they say, I haven't been doing photography long, I kind of like your stuff, and I'm not sure if I'm going the right way. And I think that the sort of responses you can get on social media can really undermine people's confidence when they're just getting going. And I think from the likes of us, a message we can give to people that are just finding their way with photography is just do what you like. And it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks about it. As long as you're happy, as long as you're enjoying stuff, whether you print it, whether you just share it with your family and friends, whatever you do with it, doesn't matter. Just have fun with it. And don't worry what anyone thinks.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I went out with someone on Friday, and we were wandering around through the woods, and he was like, right, I'm just gonna see how you take a shot. And we got to one point, and we're walking along, and he says, I really like that tree. And there was a single lone, really tall birch. And I sort of had this sort of epiphany that it's not about the tree. I don't go into the woods now and look at trees. I don't go, oh, I like that tree. Oh, I like that tree. Oh, I like that. I go in and I go, that colour's nice, that light's nice. There's something interesting there. It's not about the tree. It's not about the subject. It's about the makeup of the scene. And I think I think I now would never, everybody's done this, I bet you. We've all gone out and done a vlog and gone, oh, I'm not very good at woodland photography. Right? I don't think about that anymore. I don't think I'm not very good at it anymore. I just think now I'm all right now. I'm not too bad at woodland photography now. But I've stopped looking at individual trees and going, oh, that's a nice tree, and looked and gone, there's some really nice light over there, or the colours work really well there, or there's a little area of intrigue down the bottom here that you're almost going, it's leading you in, and you're going, oh, what's in there? So
it's so difficult to teach that, though, isn't it? It's just a gut feeling. It's really, really difficult. It must feel like being an ice skater where you've got a coach and you're going to do a triple axel, and the coach could talk to you all day long about how to do it. But the only way you'll ever do it is by falling on your ass a million times, and then one day you'll get it right.
Yeah.
So one of the topics that you mentioned, Darren, which I think is really interesting.
Thanks, mate.
It's all right. And I really want to get everyone else's view on this. It's the we were talking about cropping how you crop your images. Do you crop to generic sizes like 16:9, 4:5, 1:1, or do you use bespoke crops? And why do you do what you do? So is there anyone out there who uses the generic crops?
Yeah, I do.
Why?
Well, I set my camera to 3:2, and then I will just play around with, say, like 5:7. If I just want to bring it in a little bit. But obviously, because I print as well, 3:2 kind of fits quite nicely. On my A3, so I do tend to stick a little bit more to the generic crops, and I would say probably 3:2 and 1:1 are my kind of almost default crops. I very rarely kind of do a bespoke crop and leave it at that, and that's what made me ask the question, what you guys do.
Yeah.
The only generic crop that I use is the 1:1, the square crops, because that's something I do like, a square crop image, and I will use that. But apart from that, it will be a generic crop to suit the image. I will very much look at
a bespoke image.
Yeah, so a bespoke crop just to suit the image. If I want to take sections out, distractions around the corners, just bring up the bottom, just remove the stuff. I'll do what I think suits the image from a crop perspective. Because again, I'm not printing it. I'm only going to be sharing it on social media and keeping it in my collection. So it's a crop to suit the image for me. Apart from if I particularly had a square crop in mind when I took it, I will then crop it to a square in Lightroom. I don't actually. I will always, like you, I'll be 3:2 in camera. Very rarely have I put a square crop in camera, so you can visualise it as a square when you've taken it. And that's because I pretty much know what I'm going to be cropping it to before I take it back into Lightroom.
So in terms of printing, what different? I mean, I get it if you're printing for a frame, for instance. You're printing out a large number and they're all going to go into frames, and you don't want to have to what's the word?
Strike a
Aspect
pose.
ratio.
No, yeah,
Mount.
strike a pose. No, you know what I mean. You don't want to have to
Mount.
Yeah, mount them. Yeah, before they go into the frame. But I've never ever bothered with the square with a generic crop.
You haven't?
No, I never do. I always crop how I see the image once I've got round to editing it. So I think the same as Jamie. I'll look at the image, I'll edit it and think, well, that, I want to keep this. Say for instance, there's a tree on one side, and I want to keep a bit one side of the tree. Then that gets cropped there. I want to crop that bit of sky to there, and I don't ever look at it and think, oh, I've got to have that as a 5:4 or whatever.
Okay.
Just don't.
Dave, Mally, what do you guys do?
Well, I'm with these two boys. I for me, standard aspect ratios are just a throwback to film. Completely irrelevant in the digital age. This behind me, God knows what the actual ratio is.
Because
I
that
have
looks
no
square.
idea what it is.
That looks like
No,
a
it
square
isn't.
crop.
It's
not.
slightly
4:3.
portrait. But I just gave it to a very good printing bloke, same one that Nick Livesey uses, and said, print that for me and stick a frame around it, mate, would you?
Yeah.
And he did, and I'm very happy with it. It's, as I say, back in the day, you had film, so you were kind of forced to use whatever aspect ratio the film was running at. Nowadays, doesn't matter, just let your creativity go mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. One of my favourite shots from the past month, I took in the inversion heading up to Sprinkling Tarn, and it's the shot with the little tiny tree down at the bottom right, the mountain coming off, and then all this cloud spewing in and across. And it's initially it was just as your camera does, 3:2, whatever, and I could see this image, and for me, it's all about. It's very tactile. I edit like very much like I'm conducting a little symphony when I'm in Lightroom. I really enjoy just playing and moving crops, and like Gary said, where there'll be a bit of something on the side, or I'll just move that out. But then it's positioning. You try your rule of thirds, and sometimes I'll think, do you know what? It's better if it's just off centre. So I'll do the just off centre, and then I'll think about the crop, and then I'll realise, oh, do you know what? That'll look lovely as a square crop, as a 1x1. And then I'll do it, and I'll go, no, that looks shit. That's shocking. What are you thinking? So it's a process of elimination. Now and again, you get the odd one where you go, ooh, baby. Now and again, you get them.
What, as a generic crop or a bespoke?
No,
crop?
as a bespoke crop. But I have to say, I do tend to go for my generic crops. So I'll pick my generic crops, and then I'll work from that.
Right.
So sometimes they'll stay as a generic crop. I think, right, I don't need to do any more. That's fine. And then sometimes I'll look and go, no, I need that on the rule of three. Let's bring that sky in a bit. And then before you know it, I end up with an image what looks like a cigar. And I think, I like it.
I have to make all mine look like that. Otherwise, people don't think that I'm shooting panoramas anymore.
Well,
So
16 mil.
Yeah.
I am the true cheater.
I think, though, it's interesting. I would imagine... I'm going to guess here that all of us, other than perhaps Darren, maybe Jamie, other than those two, it's, for me, and I reckon with you guys, processing is a really organic thing. It's not like you do this thing, you do this thing. I think I've got a feeling Darren's going to be, first of all, I do this, and then I do this step, and then I do this step, and then I do that step. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, totally wrong.
Oh, good. Okay.
I'm all over the place with my. I kind of go down the sliders, and then I'll shoot off to Lightroom into Photoshop, and then I bring up Camera Raw, and I'll have a little play with there, and then I'll bring it back into, because that's what we were talking about, presets. I mean, I made a preset for the first time the other day, but I found it being just purely in Lightroom quite difficult because I flit so much, and then when I look at my images and I think, you spent a long time on this is what I was saying earlier, when I want to try and be more bold, because I'm almost doing little tweaks, and then I bring it back and I undo the little tweaks that I've actually done, and then I'll take them back and I'll tweak it a bit more, and I think, oh, that looks really nice, and then I bring it back and I think, oh, does that vignette look just too obvious? Does that radial filter? Oh, no, let me untweak that again. And before I know where I am, I've been processing a photo for 3 hours and I've ended up with a raw file. I might as well just left it alone.
Should do a video of that. I'd watch that.
I'm back to where I was.
That's the thing, though, when you watch these guys who do videos and they say, my processing technique, and they do this video and they go, right, first I do my processing technique would literally be get all the settings, put them in a bag, shake it up and throw it up in the air, and then just see what comes out. Because
racing car number 9, how many garlands did Darren use? None.
But it's a very, for me, it's a really organic process. I never edit two images the same ever. I've never gone, oh, there's that one, I'll sync those settings over to that one, because it never works like that.
I really relate to what Darren said, though. I've gone round in circles many a night. I really have.
Yeah.
Many an hour's been wasted, and then I've looked at it and gone, previous, edited.
What I've been doing? What have I been doing for 3 hours?
The number of times you look down your history and you're about, I don't know, 150 steps, and you go back to step 24 and go, yeah, no, it was better there.
Yeah, but let's be honest though. It's like going to a casino and coming out with what you went in with, but you've had an hour's entertainment.
Yeah, good. That's brilliant, that, David. Bloody hell, you plucked that one out. I love that. Exactly. You've had an hour's.
Do you ever find that you edit a number of images, and then because in Lightroom I pick the images that I like and I flag them, yeah. So you edit, say you get 5 images from a photo shoot, and you edit them, and then you look at all the ones filtered that you flagged, and then you realise that the last one looks nothing like the first one in terms of saturation. You think, these are all from the same place at the same time. I need to go back to the first one and desaturate it all back down again. And then you look and you go, oh no, that last one's way too desaturated. And then you start pumping that one up. And it's just an absolute nightmare.
My key thing I look for, and funnily enough, the saturation and what's the other bastard?
Vibrance.
No. Saturation and
Vibrance.
Those two boils, I tend to knock back. And do all my editing, all my thinking, and introduce it a little bit after. And I'm finding more and more I edit that I'm pushing saturation out and I'm adding the other in.
That's what I do. My vibrance is above the 50.
Yeah.
And my saturation is knocked back.
No.
But I tell you what, we were talking about this the other day. We were talking about the Sony RAW files. Ooh. And you edit those in a completely different way from how you edit
I'm really
the old Canon
excited.
ones.
Not that I'm going Sony, folks, but I'm really excited.
Why is that?
To have, well, do I mention? Yes, I do. I'm getting a Z7, without a doubt. I'm getting a Z7.
Have you ordered it yet?
No, not
right,
yet.
I'm glad you've not ordered it because apparently
they're shit.
No.
You wait now, Gary.
I was watching a Jared Polin video. It just popped up this morning, and he actually went through. I think it was Sony, Canon, and Nikon have actually reduced their prices.
Yes.
And I was thinking of you, and I thought I was going to message you, and I thought no, don't, because if you've ordered it, then it might just piss you off. But if you haven't ordered it, the prices might have come down just that little bit.
Well, I'm going with Panamas, so I've steeped the basket up to 24 to 70 Z mount. Now, is that daft? I don't know, but at the end of the day, I've read so much lately, I've filled my head with it. I'm keeping all my F mount lenses and I'm keeping my D750. I'm going to run two bodies because I'm starting to do more portrait. I'm starting to do other styles of photography commercially, and the D750 is fine for that. For doing that. So I'm keeping all my other lenses. So I thought, well, do you know what, if I go out like I am doing tomorrow, the 24 to 70 Z mount lens for landscape is just gonna be ooh. And then thinking about reach, well, I'm just gonna take me 70 to 200, and because I've got the new bag, I'm lighter. And then I thought, when I get the Z7, 45 megapixels. So what made me do that? What made me go from jumping from where I've always been around 16, actually 12, 10, 12, 16 and 24 megapixels, my cameras. I've never ever had a brand new camera as well. So this is my first brand new camera. You can tell I'm excited, can't you? So 45 megapixels. Now, I know there's going to be people, megapixel.
I reckon 45 megapixels is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
I really
Mally,
do.
I'm still listening. You just carry on. Yeah.
Oh. I never even spoke about my cameras. Not once. But do you know what? The Z7, Z7 II and all this malarkey and everything what's been said online, seriously, I can do 8K time lapses with the Z7. I'm never going to do them, but I can do 1080p time lapses, and I can do them at 100. I can do 120 frames per second video. I can do all my landscape, and I can just. This camera is the best thing I will have ever had, and if it's crap, I'll eat every pair of underpants I've ever worn.
I'll tell you one thing you'll notice. The detail in those, like I was talking to these guys about the Sony with 42 megapixels and taking shots out in autumn and getting every single leaf and you're 100% crop, 200% crop, and those leaves are just there. The detail
Beautiful.
is just there, and
Yeah.
it just takes your images right. It just does.
I can
it's
feel
just something
that.
you can't get with a
Yeah.
20 plus megapixel camera. Sorry, Dave.
I can feel that. I really can. I can
I'm
see
feeling
it,
a bit left out now because I'm the only one who hasn't bought a camera lately.
Yeah, but
Not going to, though.
You got one. You got a belter before me, and the the Olympus is a stunning beast. I can't say that I'm going for this camera out of the fact that it's like gas. I feel that this camera is a 10-year thing. This is going to be a long-term relationship with this camera, and like I said, it'll be the first brand new camera I've ever bought, and a little bit of me in my head saying, this little demon is saying, go on, you've earned it, lad.
It's true.
Yeah, exactly.
It is true. It is true.
You know that little demon it is actually showing. It's popped out of your head. You
Oh.
didn't realise that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
quite like it. It is Halloween today, folks.
I wondered whether we were going to go the whole podcast without
Well,
actually acknowledging you've got a stupid thing on your head.
Are they Nikon, Mally?
Yeah,
Because they're quite soft.
well, I'd just like to say one slightly Canon. There's
Well,
another.
we're
There's
talking
another
about-
hint of the future of vlogging. One slightly Canon.
Sorry, can I, Darren, just before you say it,
Go on,
talking
go
of
on.
Canon, I have got a couple of lenses for sale still.
Oh,
if anybody's
fucking
interested,
hell.
I've got the 24-70. and
He's
I've got the
Mr. Smooth
70-200.
Link, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just in case.
Last week
anybody
it was
wants
the
to know.
blog. This
Yeah,
week
I'll do a good
it's
deal.
just hunting his lenses.
Yeah, I'll do you a
Brilliant.
good deal. They're still for sale.
How much are the
Very well
lenses?
looked
How
after.
much is your lenses? What was the price you
I got
saying?
the 70-200, which I'd let go for about 300, which
Is
is
that
a
F-
really good deal.
That's a really
an
good. Is that
F4.
F4?
That's F4, and the
Bargain.
24-70, which is very underused, that's about 400, which are both cracking deals. So
Wow.
anybody interested, let me know.
That's a splendid offer.
And what about the lens?
There's a
wipes?
bloke with a little yellow three-wheeler outside going to make you an offer.
I've got a 7 metre long motorhome for sale if anybody's interested.
Oh, damn, that breaks my heart. That. What an amazing.
I couldn't buy that, knowing
vehicle.
how much farting you've done in it.
But listen, we was talking obviously about Mally's camera a second ago, which might actually lead us on to our next subject, and that was the Thomas Heaton video that I certainly watched it the other day. I don't know who else watched it. Gary, I know that you didn't. And I asked you guys, now this is not me having or being negative about people that shoot film. It's just that I don't understand it, and I wish that perhaps Steve O'Nions, I'd have a chat with him one day and actually find out why people shoot film. Because if you're going to shoot film, then scan it, then put it into Lightroom, my brain won't let me comprehend why you do that. And not just that, but if you watch Thomas Heaton's video, he's got a camera that shoots panoramics, and I think, if I've got this right, the camera only held 4 photos.
Can you just give us a quick, like, for people who haven't watched it, i.e. me, can you give us a quick, like, just a summary of what happened in
Okay,
the video?
so basically, the week before this video, I forget where it was in the Lake District, but he went up to this, what was it called, the Pillars?
He went up Pillar, so do you want me quickly, just dead quick, he buggered off up a big mountain called Pillar, got really bad conditions, changeable conditions, came back down disappointed, and got an incredible sky.
Yeah, but hang on a second, right, so the week before he went to Pillars, he went with a friend, and he just had his digital camera. He didn't vlog, didn't do anything.
His XT4, I think, wasn't it?
His XT4, and he produced some amazing images because he showed it on the video. And as he said, he didn't. He said it was really nice not having a tripod. He was just out with his friend hiking, but he managed to bang out some incredible images. So this week he thought, right, I'll go back with my dedicated film camera. Now, he actually made a few mistakes during the video, but he didn't. He's obviously he couldn't tell how bad these mistakes were. They turned out to be not too bad at all, and he produced some really nice photos.
Yes.
But the angst that he was going through, and knowing that he only had 4 images, and that's what I'm thinking all the time. I'm thinking there has to be a reason why people shoot film, but I just can't get it into my head what the attraction is.
Do you want to know my opinion on it? I think that it's people who are... You get to a level with a digital camera and you think, is it me or is it the camera? And so they go out and they buy a film camera to prove their skill as a photographer, because a lot of people tend to think that film cameras, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're going to get with a film camera until you've got it. So if you can go out and consistently get good shots with a film camera, that must make you technically a very good photographer. That would be my thought process on why, if I were going to go and get a film camera, that's why I would do it.
Yeah, I think it's very personal. So like you've just said, the reason why you do it, I think it's just very personal to everyone as to why.
But if you went out with a film camera, then come back and went into the dark room, then you hung them, and then that was your photo. Then you met it. I can see the attraction there.
That's the attraction.
I can see that. It doesn't appeal to me at all, not one jot. But I can see the appeal. But what I can't understand is why shoot film, then scan them, then put them into Lightroom. That's the bit that I just can't get my head round.
I guess I could answer that quite simply, is that there's a quality that comes off a film camera.
Is there?
Yes. Oh, definitely.
Right, that's...
Definitely.
And what is that quality?
The quality comes from the cellular. It comes from the type of film that you use, whether it's pushing your contrast, your darks, or it's pushing your colours, it's Velvia, or whatever type of film you stick in that camera.
So when it goes into Lightroom, no editing takes place at all?
You could do away with that. Well, this is back to the thing what we mentioned previous about how much you twiddle your knobs. So like Darren... So if you're staying true to your I'm not with the film to Lightroom thing. I would personally like to do it on an enlarger because I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot because it's more work, it's hard work, it's difficult. You need a space, you need an area to do that kind of thing. There's a couple of vloggers out there. Steve O'Nions is one, and the lens and the film. Oh shit!
Ben Hong.
No. He's English chap, so from down south, near your neck of woods. The film. Oh, it's gone. I'm so sorry, sir. I will find out and we'll post it down below. And I watched this gentleman. He has a shed at back garden, and he does everything through trays, processing, enlarger, blah blah blah. But having said that, if you take a picture on a certain type of film, and then you scan it on a drum scan, which Thomas has mentioned before when he used the Hasselblad, and he got in touch with on landscape gentleman who put him onto someone to do drum scanning of his negs, which is high resolution scanning of the negative. And the editing then is very minimal. There's not a lot of editing takes place in Lightroom, because the film and the shot at the moment, the light, the situation, etc. We all have the ability to do quite a lot with digital photography and manipulate the image, which is fine. I do it. It's wonderful. But with film, I think it goes to it's almost a nostalgia, and it's keeping true to an art form, I guess. It's like, imagine if you wanted to create a Leonardo da Vinci, you'd want to get his brushes, his paints, you'd want to replicate what he's done. No, it's not about proving.
I think it is.
No, not about proving yourself. It's about it's a bit like using a setting off Mark Littlejohn. So you're using that setting, so it's just like getting the same brushes. It's just like getting the same. It's about how you're trying to create a piece of art, really.
I think it'd be like Lewis Hamilton getting out of his Formula One car and getting in the Sterling Moss one and trying to beat Sterling Moss's record.
No.
Because he's trying to prove that he's a good racing driver and can do it in any car.
No, I think it's because he'd be like, wow, to be in that time, in that moment, to create that race in Sterling Moss's car, and just the whole engulfed in that passion, that enthusiasm of being able to go out and do that. I don't think it's egotistical. I think it's done
I'm not
purely...
saying it's egotistical. I just think it's trying to prove yourself. I don't think anybody could honestly hold their hands up and say, I can get a better shot on film than I can on digital.
See, I don't get why you'd go out with a 5x8 or a big, towel head over camera. Like Ben Horn, you mentioned. Someone mentioned Ben Horn. That is incredible dedication to frustration and to get a picture. It just...
So why do you do it if it's not to say I'm such a good photographer that I can do it without the bells and whistles?
I think once you introduce YouTube and modern technologies, it could come across that you're being like that. But I think for me, it's just a case of the romance, the nostalgia, the achievement. Like I said to Darren about creating something with your hands, whether it be in woodwork or metalwork or as an engineer to take a car apart and make a kit car. I think no one does those things anymore, so it is quite nice to go back and be tactile.
No, I agree, but what I'm saying to you is, if you can get a 3D printer or a machine that will cut out all of the bits of wood for you to make a cabinet, and then another machine that will put them together, why do you do it yourself with a hammer and a chisel and whatever?
Just feeling that.
To prove that to feel that sense of
being
achievement,
in that.
to feel that I'm a good carpenter.
You're such a cynic.
It might be just the smell of the. It might be just the eye. See, I spent many an hour
Mally,
in the dark room.
You're pissing up a rope, mate.
I am, Anna.
Because
it is.
Gary's. No, Mally, you're right, but so is Gary.
No, there's no
That's
right.
The whole thing.
Exactly.
No,
there's no right or wrong.
Speaking as the only person who's done any film photography to any great degree over quite a period of years, I have absolutely zero interest in going back to jumping in my Sterling Moss car now that I've got a 2020 Mercedes. I don't need an old Silver Arrows. And I think that I totally get the whole, I'm manufacturing a cabinet with my own bare hands. I get that.
It's personal.
It is, exactly. And that's the thing. If it suits you to do that, then do it. And we come right back to what we were talking about when we were talking about our opinions of our photography. If it's something you just fancy doing, then do it. It doesn't matter what your motivation is. By the same token, if producing an image that you really like without going, oh shit, I've just burnt through 20 quid's worth of film and I don't know what I've got, then stick with the digital. For me, I love the digital, and I gave up film and I didn't bother with photography for the thick end of 30 years until digital became affordable and accessible, because it was a case of, for me, the analogy is this, right? I could be scraping out the shape of a buffalo on the wall of my cave using some pigment, or I could be a Monet with these amazing oils and some nice linseed, and I could really do something on this lovely piece of canvas. That was the difference. Either that, or I get on my horse to go to the equivalent of Tesco's in 1880 and buy a pound of sugar, or I jump in my Fiesta and bob round and fill a trolley. We just move on. And some people like to live a little bit as if time hadn't moved on, and others say, well, that's in the past, good riddance to it.
Do you know though, David, what you've just said there when you said about linseed oil, I find it fascinating that there is quite a lot of ways of creating art that haven't changed. Photography has massively changed. Is that because of commerciality and money? Do you think the digital camera and the way it's gone at the speed it's gone would have happened if there was no money in it? I think we'd all be shooting film.
What do you mean if there was no money in it?
There's a lot of money in cameras and a lot of money in tech especially, like these things.
Well,
These
I mean,
things,
let's be
12
fair.
megapixel.
There's an awful lot more proper photographers, whatever the hell that is, but people that go out and buy an interchangeable lens camera system, far more these days than there were back when I was shooting film, because it's accessible, because you can not burn through 20 quid just getting a sunset. You know, it's more accessible, and I think you're right. I think that, you know, the fact that the manufacturers are able to shift a load of units. I saw some interesting figures on Jared Polin's recent video where he was talking about the numbers of units that Canon have shifted despite COVID. Yeah. And they were in the 3.6 million units. Well, you multiply that by the price of a Canon body and you work out what their revenue is. Even if you allow for the retailer's margin, it's still pretty eye-watering. And that's in a COVID year. So there's a lot of money in it, but people enjoy it. People have fun with it, and why not? You lot can't resist buying a new camera, whereas I tend to be a little bit more circumspect.
But we're going back to Tom's video on this particular camera. It produces almost an inverse vignette naturally. So he had to screw on this filter to stop the camera from...
No, the vignette wasn't inverse. The filter was inverse. So he screwed on the filter to obviously get rid of the vignette. But then he forgot. I think for the first time he put the filter on, and then he forgot to allow for the extra compensation. Then on the second photo, or the second set of photos, he allowed for the extra compensation, but he actually then forgot to screw the filter on. Now, that's what I think as well puts me off. Well, it's just something else that would put me off from film, is all the faff, because if you get it wrong on film, then you've got unlimited film, whereas if you get it wrong on digital, why you've driven 3 or 4 hours to get to a location, then you've spent 2 hours getting to some elevation. If I get it wrong there on the back of the digital, at least I can see it. At least I've got half a chance of actually trying to retake the shot. I think it would just... I think you're right, but notwithstanding the actual technicalities of taking the pictures, for me, what I thought was really depressing was Tom out there in a beautiful piece of scenery having a miserable time. He was sat there doing a piece to camera saying, oh my God, it's really gone bad. I felt so sorry for him, because had he taken his ordinary camera out there, he'd have been saying, oh, this is brilliant, I'm really enjoying myself. And
well, let's also look at the image that he got from the week before, which was fantastic with his digital camera. So I'm not being negative, I just don't... perhaps if I was to hold... Yeah,
you've got to ask yourself, where's the enjoyment in it? Where's the... He should have come down that mountain buzzing. Oh, look at that light. I had a great time. It was fabulous.
Look at Gary's
Instead
face.
I'll be interesting to see...
Should have watched the video, Gary.
I'll be interesting to see how many views he got from his disappointing trip.
Exactly. He did say, though, that, thousands of people are going to watch this. It better be good.
Yeah.
I think that...
it means a lot to him.
I just think that film photography is a bit like vinyl.
Well, it's been up for 2 days and it's got just under 60,000.
Yeah, he's doing all right.
That's almost as many as one of mine.
So don't feel too sorry for him.
Off, Dave.
I would say don't feel too sorry for him, Dave. I think he's done all right out of it.
No, I don't dispute that, but I just think it would have been nicer if he'd had a better time. I like him. I don't like to see somebody having a bad time.
Struggle. Exactly, David. Someone struggle and
take your digital up there, mate. It's like people who spend their time listening to vinyl, going, "Oh, vinyl! Oh, loads of quality in vinyl that you can't get in bollocks." It's nothing to do with that. It's because you want to be different. People want to be different.
First time I put a CD in, and I put that CD in, but do you know what I didn't have to? I didn't have to use any fingers for lift up that and put it. What is happening? What is happening? I think a lot of the time is things are easier, more faster, quicker, stronger. Blah, 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 blah.
Better.
I think it's nice for go back now and again and have it work for your art.
Why? Though?
I've not said much because I've never shot film and I've never been interested in film. But the only analogy I guess I can make, because the way I see it is this: it's an art form. Photography is an art form, whether it's digital or whether it's film based. And is it going back to it being a craft? So you've learnt your craft. And you've learned how to take shots in film, and you've learned that it's you've got to challenge yourself to be a craftsman. Using the analogy that I always relate to, because Mally relates to it in the printing industry. The craftsmen on press with their old Heidelberg and letterpress and the rest of it, they've cut the letters out, they've made them up, they've posted them up, and they've created something, and that's a craft in itself. And they've printed something which looks beautiful. It's high quality, beautiful image. They can then stick it on a 105 and run it at 16,000 an hour and get probably just as equal image. But one's had a lot of manual effort and intervention go into it to make something that's been crafted, and the other has been automated. Yes. And I think there's your difference. It's whether you want to master your craft and be a craftsman, or whether you just want to use technology to produce the same thing. And either or are equally acceptable. Surely it's what individuals want to do.
Exactly.
It'd be nice if I held a print from a film camera. I think I may change my opinion, or not even my opinion, but perhaps I would understand. Perhaps if I could see the quality of it, or it might just be the Emperor's New Clothes, I don't know, but perhaps I would understand. But at the moment, I just couldn't think of anything worse than for me driving 200 miles to Snowdonia, lugging a film camera up to the top of a mountain, only to come down again with the whole time, like Thomas did on that video, thinking, if these images are crap, I don't know what I'm going to do here.
It could have just not put a video out about it.
Yeah, but
Gary's getting to me. Stop it, Gary.
It's nothing to do with the video. It's to do with the enjoyment, the pleasure that you have in taking a photo. And for me, it would just put a downer on it.
Yeah.
Well, it would for us. For Tom, it is. Don't forget, it's his living.
Yeah, but his living is to make videos, isn't it? His living is to make videos, to get popularity from videos, to make money from the exposure that he gets from making videos. And for him to make a video about film cameras is another thing that other people will watch, another string to his bow that certain people go, "Oh, Tom's doing film stuff. Oh, I'll watch some of that," because it's different. And that's totally.
But why though, Gary? Because he loves photography, though. Don't forget, that's not just the sole reason. He did it because he loves photography. He could be doing something and earning a lot more money. He's a very clever man. He could do another job. He doesn't have to be lugging film cameras up a mountain for earn 400 quid a week. You know what I mean? He could be doing an easier job than that.
Why
it's not? Well, we seem to think for some reason that Thomas goes up a mountain and shoots film for his audience and this. He's not earning a lot. He could go and get a job doing something and earn double the amount.
It's not about the video, is it? It's not about the video alone. It's about the exposure.
Yeah, but he loves photography.
I'd imagine if I was Thomas Heaton, the amount of videos I'd done, I would be now thinking, I've been doing this for like 8 years. I need to think about doing something different.
Well, he is, isn't he?
Film
he
camera.
is. He said that. He said that to us, didn't he, at Gary Goff's?
Yeah, and he's an honest bloke.
I asked him that question direct. Do you see yourself logging in 5 years? And he went, "God, I hope not." Yeah. 5 years later, we'll have a look.
Yeah, I'm doing it with film now instead. It's like some people. They play the game and they realise that phone photography is popular, so they'll sell themselves to the phone.
Cynical tonight,
to the phone photography.
It?
Oh, I've had a bad day. I told you before we started. I've had a shit day, and it's hello.
Oh,
Oh, you've upset him.
I've upset Dave so much he's gone.
Oh.
Well, thanks for watching this week. We didn't have two things we didn't have. In fact, three things we didn't have. We didn't have any James. We didn't have any of the Gary's Random Picker, which I really missed, Mally's little jingle. And we also didn't share our first images, which we were going to do. We just run out of time. So we'll try and get all of those three things next week.
We didn't run out of time. Mally couldn't get himself an image organised quick enough. Come on. Our audience are far smarter than that. Don't bullshit our audience.
Next week,
it's
I'm
down to
gonna have
Mally.
my projector sat up with all my film slides.
You said that last week.
Gary.
You said
Yeah,
that, I think you said that last week.
I didn't want to blame him. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching this week. I'm sure the podcast will be out at some point.
Put your finger out.
Darren, have you got any last minute points to make?
No, I'm purposely actually not even looking at the screen.
Oh, come on.
I'm looking above my webcam until this ends.
No, come on, Darren.
All right. Well, look, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya.